Welcome back to the Basic Bee podcast. I am so happy to have you here, and I'm thrilled to get to introduce you to yet another client of mine and a really good friend, Courtney Anderson. We're going to be talking all about SEO for websites, for podcasts. Who knows where else the conversation is going to go. But before I bring her on, here is a little bit about Courtney. Courtney Anderson is a sober life coach, podcast host, and author. She's the founder of Sober Vibes and National Sober Day. Courtney helps women quit drinking alcohol and thrive in sobriety. And it's been really cool because by working with her, I've gotten to know her story really well. I'm still so impressed that she even founded like a national day. Like, I don't even know how you do that stuff, but it's really good to have you here. And I'm so excited to talk with you.
I'm so excited to be on the Basic Bee podcast. I love it. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, of course. It's been really fun working with you. I know we did website SEO. We've launched into podcast SEO now. We have lots of wins that we get to talk about, but I think to tee it up, why don't you take us all back to where this started?
Well, wait, hang on. We started with email funnels.
Emails. We did.
That's what we started with. And then it's branched out into this relationship. And that started 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was before my book came out and I wanted to get those funnels like tight, right? So, and then Megan introduced us and it's been a beautiful relationship ever since.
I know. My favorite thing is just like boxering with you and the Betty White gifts. Like, just makes my heart happy.
Well, it's such a good gift, you know, of just Betty White shaking her boobs. It's a good one.
Especially for me. I'm like, yeah, that's my jam.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that one. I send that one to a lot of people.
It's great. I love it. But yeah, we did start with email. So way back when I was doing copywriting.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
Tell us about your journey, whatever you want to share.
Well, with what I specifically do, my journey technically started back when I got sober. So that was August 18th of 2012. I was in a decade-long relationship with alcohol. I call it a very toxic relationship. There was an addiction, all the things. And when you start drinking, you know, nobody starts drinking being like, oh, I hope I have a problem one day, right? So like my drinking started off very innocently and then it escalated. And by 25, I knew deep down inside I needed to quit drinking. I just didn't know when it was going to happen and where and all of the things. And so 25 to 29, I tried the moderation game and like tried to control it. I mean, Brittany, I would be like, don't do any shots. Make sure you eat. Like, okay, I'm only going to drink once a week and I don't have an issue, right? Like, and then that becomes very exhausting. So if anybody's listening who's in that cycle, that is one of the most mind-boggling exhaustion cycles you'll ever be in because you're trying to control something that is just not controllable anymore. So then finally at 29, I was about 6 weeks shy of being 30. I had my quote unquote rock bottom, which I just believe anybody's rock bottom is the next morning when they wake up and they're good and tired. You know, it doesn't matter what happened to you, but you're just good and tired of where the relationship with alcohol took you. Because I did worse things in those 10 years to when I finally had enough. And I was really tired at that age. I felt like an old man who had lived 4 wars, you know, and just tired, emotionally tired. So I quit drinking then. Insert a couple years after that into my recovery, I was sitting down at a AA meeting and I was like, you know, there's just got to be more than this because I'm sitting there listening to ladies being like, I want to be able to go to a Tigers game, a baseball game and sit there and not have to worry about drinking. And these were women like well into their sobriety and wanting more. So out of that summer that I participated with the program, that's when I was like, I want something more empowering, right? And I had already kind of been doing the same thing because I kind of ripped the Band-Aid off those first couple months in to be able to socialize in a world that really is embedded with alcohol that's not going anywhere. So out of that, I started Sober Vibes. And then it has created into my coaching company and the podcast, the book, National Sober Day, all those things. So that was a long story to your answer.
No, but that's what I wanted because I feel like I've been able to listen to at this point like 20 plus episodes of your podcast. And I'm like, I know Courtney very well. So I highly recommend going and listening to that, not just for the download numbers, but like I don't have this like struggly relationship with alcohol, but even I was able to learn quite a lot from you and just hearing your story and listening to you talk to guests and you and your sister having like your side conversations, like we also discovered that we have dads who worked at Red Lobster in common. Like it's kind of crazy.
I know. I love it.
I know. It's great. One thing I love about working with you is that I know that the work I'm helping you with is going to then go even further and help so many people who are really battling this terrible disease. And they want help. And you're over here and you're like, I can help you. I understand where you've been. I've been where you've been. And I'm over here like, let me help connect you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said in the beginning, I've thoroughly enjoyed our partnership that has grown into a friendship. And that is the thing, is that when I got sober, all there was rehab and AA. Like that was like the things, you know, and nowadays, especially I want to say in the last 5 years since the pandemic, a lot has really boomed with help and more awareness towards sobriety and that it's okay to live an alcohol-free life or a sober life, you know, and that is what has been great, like honestly, because there's no one way to recover. There's no one program that's going to help you. And when I created Sober Vibes too, it was meeting a person with where they're at.
Yeah.
Because you can't treat everybody the same. And a lot of like my one-on-one is coached towards like, okay, let's meet you with where you're at, you know, because again, what worked for somebody maybe 25, 30 years ago might not going to work with you, you know? And that's what I really understood when I quit and I went through a process of that, is that I have really done all of it, majority. Like, I mean, therapist, coaches myself, trying 12-step programs, really diving into personal development. And I do believe that majority of all of that, it wasn't just a one thing that has really helped me in my recovery.
The one thing you're reminding me of as you're sharing that is that there is no one size fits all for anything, whether it's SEO or sobriety. Like there is no one size fits all.
Right.
And I don't believe that any market can really be too saturated because we all have our unique personalities and our stories and even like the methods that we take people through, the way that we approach whatever the problem or the desire is. So there's going to be a whole bunch of other sobriety coaches. Cool. There's going to be other memberships. Cool. There's going to be other SEO providers. And that's great and fine. And I don't find that intimidating, but so many other people do. And it can be pretty scary.
Yeah. But you know what, though? That is a lot of work you've done on yourself. And that is like a huge growth mindset, because when you started it, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like there is a sea of people. Like, and it can get very frustrating to give up and whatnot. But like, and that's also to the growth of your entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I felt the same.
Yeah.
And I've worked with, you know, been in communities with other sober coaches where they've had that just because they first started it. And I'm like, well, people are going to work with you because they want to work with you. And it took me some years to wrap myself and really now be committed to it. Like I had a client fill out an intake and being like, I have on there, like, why do you want to work with me? And she, sometimes on my podcast, I like to say bag of dicks. I hope I can say that here on the Basic Fee podcast. But she put in there where she was just like, every time Courtney says a bag of dicks, an angel gets their wings, which was so funny. I was giggling out loud to myself. But it's true. People will work with you if there's a million other sober coaches or SEO, you know what I mean? It's you.
Yeah.
And when you understand that, I do believe that that flows more and more and more and more. So one time I had a woman, we did like a cross post. And so she responded to my story and was like, that Anderson likes to swear. It made me laugh. So I responded to her and I said, I sure do. But again, too, the person that I was doing like this cross promotion with, I think it was a podcast post too. Like I understood who her audience was.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to disrespect that, but I was just like, I sure do, because that's me. I mean, I'm not going to apologize because I like to say bag of dicks or drop F-bombs. You get to a point in your entrepreneurship journey where you're just like, this is me.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like SEO really helps my people do, because I always start everybody off with the who do you help? How do you help them? What do you want to be known for? And I've had people who are like, I don't have an answer for that. And they don't even want to probe and they don't want to explore that. That's okay. That's just not the right person for me. They're going to end up putting in general keywords and you'll have some success, but you're not going to have like long-lasting, sustainable success for when really bad things happen in your life or like your dishwasher breaks or something happens and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go deal with life. You can still
Right.
have clients coming in.
Mm-hmm.
With that, I'm curious, how did you feel when I was like, here's the 3 questions, answer them, Courtney?
Well, it's funny because I think a lot of people have a hard time answering
Yes.
that because you want to go so wide.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking to yourself, it's like, well, I want to help everybody,
Mhm.
but that just doesn't work. Because then when you say you want to help everybody, then you're not attracting the right person.
Mhm.
So I feel that because even when you ask me, I'm like, okay, I have to get like deep. And especially too, if you work with one-on-one clients, like look at your one-on-one clients and that person is the same. And
Mhm.
I think then when you asked me like those 3 questions, that's when I looked at it and I was like, holy moly. Like I am coaching the same person over and over and over again. And then what it comes back down to, it's a mirror of yourself.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many of my one-on-one clients are big fans of Bravo because I love Bravo. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's like
Yes.
that you're attracting that person. So to answer your question, it was a little bit overwhelming because
Mhm.
it's like sometimes it's just like, oh man, it really does have to make you think. But then if you just look at your one-on-one clients, it's like there's so much in there.
Yeah.
And if you work with a lot of people, especially to business coaches or people who are like, get leads on Instagram, it's the same. What you asked, it's the same. It's like, who are you helping?
Yeah, people want to know that information. So
Yeah.
at some point, we're going to have to answer those questions.
Uh-huh.
And I was the same way when I made myself sit down. And I did this at the beginning of the year when I was coaching a workshop
Yeah.
all about blogging and SEO. And I was like, I'm going to make myself do this. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like I have to sit here and answer these questions.
Right.
It is very confronting.
Uh-huh.
It can be.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to sit there, I mean, it doesn't take that long once you actually get your tushy to start writing.
Right.
But like once you start writing 15, 20 minutes or something like that, if you do that work, it's going to make all the difference to the content you create, to the keywords that I end up finding, to the strategy that we end up plugging in, everything.
Right.
Because like you said, it touches on everything.
It really does.
Yeah. So we started out with those 3 questions. We did website SEO first. So take me back to, I remember at least part of your message when you reached out. Because again, we're like in and out of Voxer pretty consistently. What was the moment or what was the thing or what was the inspiration where you were like, okay, fine, I got to do SEO? You know how business owners are getting burnout by social media marketing? Well, I help them go from feeling tethered to their phone 24/7 to having their content actually work for them by using the magic of SEO. It's incredible to see them getting leads from Google, even when life is lifing. How do we do it? With my 3-step SEO and Grow method, they easily go from frustrated, ashamed, and doubtful to empowered and excited by SEO. I know, believe it, it's true. All they really want is to have clients flocking to their websites without social media. And my approach gets them there. The first step of the SEO journey is understanding, getting familiar with terms, learning how to find the best keywords, getting a good foundational knowledge of SEO. It's where you start to see how simple SEO can truly be. You can be a part of this same adventure by joining SEO Foundations, my 5-week SEO mentorship program for entrepreneurs. Check out the details below and take advantage of the opportunity to save $150 for a limited time. I'll see you inside.
Well, it kept coming up. I've heard SEO more, especially more in the past 2 years, I would say, right? And I just got to a point, and I think it's because, so I have a 3.5-year-old. So my little dictator, it's like, let's just say for this, January, February, March, I was sick every month with a different strand of whatever was going on in this godforsaken country. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just like every month. I have had a stream of income since then, and I wasn't really on social media because it was exhausting. So in the past couple years, I'm like, I need to focus on this and not understanding really what it was. And then that was my goal this year because I was like, something isn't right for my website of how glamorous it is. I say glamorous because it is a pretty website.
Yes.
Taryn did a really good job doing that website, but I'm like, something is not right here, right? Like people talking about SEO. I'm like, I should just be having leads come in. And then when I looked at it, when we started working together and I was like, where you were showing me, and I was like, oh my God, nothing was on that page. What would that page be?
Well, there's the SEO title and the meta description, which for anyone listening, if you're not familiar, those are the two pieces that show up in the Google search. Like when there's that list of stuff, that's how someone decides if they want to come to your website or not. So Courtney had nothing.
I had nothing. Not a thing. It was like crickets. And I was like, this was my answer. And not that I was mad about it or anything. And I was like, well, this makes sense of why I have not been getting any type of traffic. So it was more preparing for the future. And like I said, not having to be on social media all the time. And just really, when it comes down to it, working smarter, not harder.
It's Courtney and my theme this year is like, how can we be smart finally?
Yeah, like even that post you made the other day where you were talking about being off social media and that your bank account is more full, right? Like it is the truth. It's like that is a machine, that social media machine. It's one that gets exhausting and can send you into a burnout. And like, depending on what's going on in your life, it's like, just work smarter.
Yeah, it's so ironic because I know that my people are posting on Instagram and they're getting burnt out on Instagram. So I need them to see my stuff. So I'm going back to Instagram finally after like a year and a half of not posting anything but stories. And I'm like, there are days where I'm like, I really don't want to post on social until like I actually have those things I get to talk to, but I know that they're there.
Yeah.
That their people are hanging out.
Everybody who has an online business and a brick and mortar, you need social media. Yeah. It's the way of the world. But I do think that you can work a little bit, like you said, smarter, not harder.
For sure. Yeah. So I think what I was saying in that post, one of the main points I was trying to make is that you put your blood, sweat, tears, money into creating content. If you put it on social media, you're getting maybe a day or two, or if you're lucky, like a week out of it. With blogs and even with podcasts, you're getting that for years.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of like having a retirement fund where you put some money in there and then it grows for you, compounds, and you end up having like more and more success with it over time.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. So all right, we were intimidated and a little bit overwhelmed with SEO and with my questions. And we were, oh, holy crap, when we saw that there was nothing. How else were you feeling at that time, like as we were kind of getting started?
I still don't get it. I mean, I get it now of what you told me of like, this is what people are searching, right? And like, this is where your site needs. And that's why I was like, can we please just do plug and play where you just do it and I will plug it in. I have no problem doing that. But like, that is the whole thing. SEO, the website stuff, it's not in my wheelhouse. So if that's the best way I can describe it, of like my feeling is like, this is not in my wheelhouse. I would like to hire somebody to do this for me and who understands it. And you got it.
I got it, man.
Okay, you're a wizard.
Like I've been in your world for a few years, which also I would have understood your stuff though very quickly had I not even known you, because you have a really dialed in brand. You know who you're helping, you know how you're helping them. You know what you want to be known for. So it was very easy to step in if I hadn't had history with you. I would have been able to figure it out. But your answers, your branding, your messaging, like all of that stuff, all we were doing was taking that, doing keyword research, and then plugging in a strategy in only a few places, really. But you're plugging some stuff in that actually, I think of it like extra credit. SEO to me just seems like extra credit for business owners.
Yeah, but like even a couple weeks ago, I messaged Brittany and I was like, oh, so blogs are like a new post for a social media algorithm. It has taken me a long time to connect these dots. Like, oh, okay, this is building more and more momentum on Google. Like if you do a blog, right? So then I was getting it because I think I told you too, and I know we're probably going to go in that route too, but like, listen, I'm just going to say it because this is just me. A lot of people have a podcast. Not everybody are good podcasters. This is true. So I said this to Brittany. This is full transparency. I'm like, sometimes I don't understand how some of these podcasters have like millions of downloads, right?
Yeah.
Or 1 million, or got there quickly, or launched and then had like 5,000 downloads within a matter of a year. And I remember talking to a couple podcasters a while ago, and they're being like, I really honed in on SEO. And I was like, so this, and then with working with you, and I was like, this is how these animals do it, right? Like, and I say animals with love, like, I'm like, this is how they do it. They do it with SEO. it was like mind blown to me that it's just like, this is how people are doing it.
Yeah, people aren't born with this knowledge. I was even born with this. I kind of stumbled into it when I realized that's how clients were finding me. And then I was like, oh, let me go and figure out more about this.
Right.
So it's not that like any entrepreneur who's listening, like you should know this by now. No, you shouldn't. No, you're not expected to know anything. And even Courtney coming into me and being like, I know nothing. These things are blank. I don't know. Can you help me fill them in?
Right.
That is what I love doing. So kind of like a side note, but all I need from people when they come to me is just, I need you to be really clear on who you help, how you help them, what you want to be known for. I do the rest. And then at the most, you're like you said, you're plug and playing it into your website, which was that part very hard for you or was it pretty doable?
It's pretty doable. I have Kajabi, and I do think that Kajabi, how they have it laid out, that it is. So I can't speak on any other hosts, but Kajabi is pretty easy.
Yeah. And I've even had clients where they've come in and they're like, I don't really know where to find this. So we do a Google search because maybe I'm not familiar with their website host, but you go to Google and it'll tell you where to plug in the magical SEO stuff.
Yeah.
But that part is the easiest part. It's like copy, paste, save, copy, paste, save.
Yeah.
So we did the website stuff. We ended up plugging it in like December-ish. And I was actually going back and looking through some of the wins. I know you had a hot lead come in. And I say hot lead because they actually said in your inquiry form for how did you find Courtney, Google search of sobriety coach. And they even put it in quotes. And I was like, you magical unicorn, I love you. And it was plugged in, or they came to you like 2 months after it was plugged in.
Yeah. And I mean, it was in quotations. Like she straight up said, I Googled sobriety coaches in quotation marks. And I was like, hot damn. And I sent this to Brittany and then with a couple of Betty White gifts. Like, I'm like, holy moly. And honestly, it was straight up Google because she never had listened to the podcast at that point. So it was straight Google.
Yeah. You've had some cool stuff. So that was one of them. You had a 200% increase in website traffic the month after we plugged it in. Now, granted, SEO, like the traffic is a little bit of a wave. That's okay. It's totally normal. And I saw pretty much across the board, my clients' traffic start dropping like January or February, but like we're coming up. So we're on the upswing of the wave. But I just thought that was a really cool win that you had. What other things were happening? Was there any benefit for your membership or book sales or anything like that you noticed?
Well, the book sales, I don't know because that's what their publishing company.
Dang it.
Yeah. Like they just sent me for royalties, but it was back from like July to the end of the year. Like, so like I won't get it until probably the summertime. So the book sales, I don't really know, but definitely I have to say some more signups, obviously on my email list, but yes, those one-on-ones have been coming in.
Oh, cool. So the more one-to-one coaching clients. That's exciting.
That's what I'm telling you, like January, February, March, being sicker than sick, like, and not really putting a lot of energy into Instagram. So, yeah.
So you really have just had the podcast and the SEO like working for you. Oh, man.
And lately, too, it has been like, well, I've been listening to the podcast, right? Or the search. So it's interesting to see how this is going to keep going.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's been consistent. So compared to last year, it was not.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear that. I didn't know that you had so many one-to-ones coming in. Okay. So website happened. We were very excited. What inspired you to then be like, Brittany, let's do podcast SEO?
Because again, going back to like my podcast where I was like, again, something's not right here. You know what I mean? How I started that podcast, I was actually coming out of a partnership where I did a podcast before and I was just starting to learn. So that partnership ended. And then I started doing my own in February of 2020. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to still keep going and put it out there.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know all the technical stuff. Again, I didn't know about the SEO. And like I said earlier, of like talking with podcasters where they're like, oh, yeah, I really focused on SEO. And I was like, what is, happening? And even too, I had somehow gotten on somebody's email list. I'm sure I signed up for something, right? And they, in their email, was talking about podcast SEO and how it's different than website SEO. And then I think that's when I reached out to you and I was like, I think I probably asked you, like, is podcast SEO different? And then that's how we started with the SEO train.
Yeah. And now we're we've already done and implemented optimization for 20 episodes, and we have 10 more that I'm working on. So we're kind of doing them in batches of 10. But even with those first 20 episodes, I mean, when we're optimizing the podcast episodes, we're doing the title sometimes, not always, because we even have some examples where we did not change the title because your titles were actually pretty solid. And then we are always, with all of them, adding in these tags, which I call keyword tags, because you and I both host our podcasts in Buzzsprout. And there's a section at the bottom that most people don't know that it even exists because you have to click a link for the thing to drop down. When you drop it down, you can add tags in there. So I, from the get-go, was like, well, I'm going to add in keyword tags and just see where this takes me. And by doing that, you've had some incredible wins. But like, what was that process like for you for doing the podcast SEO?
Well, again, we did the plug and play pretty much. So, I mean, all I had to go in there is just copy and paste. It's the easiest thing. Like, you are doing the work. And again, of going back with, let me just give Brittany her flowers right now, is that she does this because she's listening to the podcast episodes. So this is all based on intuitiveness. And that's why I believe the greatest thing about a woman is that intuitiveness and honing in on that. When people do this stuff with AI, because I've done some AI generated show notes, no shame in my game. But when you have a human being who's actually sitting there listening and understanding this and know what needs to be put in, and then what you say the percentage was 30% one went up, or
one of them went up 40%, and we didn't touch the title.
We didn't touch the
40%
title.
Increase in downloads. Yeah.
So that was just those tags, because I wasn't doing those tags, right? Like, it was so easy. Your method of how you do it, that is a gift. It is a gift, because these numbers, they don't lie. And that is what you sat and you listened and know what needed to be done.
Yeah. My favorite thing is listening to podcasts in 2x. It's my favorite thing ever, because like I can hear the entire conversation. Yeah. There were even a few where it was like, oh, Courtney, you might want to link your book in here. You might want to link the membership, like just things that I'm noticing, because I'm treating it like I'm the listener.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I'm intrigued. I want to go find out about the CBD thing. Oh, I want to go find out about this thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there were things like that. But really, if we touched anything, every single one, we added those tags. And then some, I would say most of them, we updated the titles. And it may have been shortening it, adding a guest's name in there, or changing things like numbers or symbols to make it a little bit more eye-catchy. But yeah, like, I mean, you were doing a good job. You have the most amount of downloads. You were like the largest podcast I've ever worked on. I told you this last week, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you. And then here we are.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, I did a paid marketing thing with my podcast, but I didn't like how that ended up being. Like, yes, it got you the downloads, but it messed up my reviews. And it's like, lesson learned, right? And in the entrepreneurship space and the business space, you live and learn. So that was when I was like, this year too, whereas like something is not right here. I do believe that there should be more. And it just then came down to this and understanding SEO some more.
Yeah. So some of your other podcast ones that I just have to shout you out, because you had some major ones. Like, this has been a fun show to work on. So you had the one show where we didn't touch the title. The only thing we did was add those tags. 30% increase in downloads after 2 months. The 40% one was the big one without changing the title. You had another one that had 30% increase in downloads. And then you have had over 2 months, 8,000 increased downloads. And in 2 days, this was the coolest thing. The first time we plugged in that first set of 10, you optimized those. You gave me the date. In 2 days, you saw a 16% increase in downloads. Yeah. And you didn't put out an episode in that time. It was just like naturally happening.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy sauce, man. And I tell people that podcast SEO works faster than website SEO. And actually, going back to what you were saying about having like duplicate clients where you're like, I'm helping these same people and they have the same things going on. I sat down recently and I was like, all right, favorite clients. So spilling the beans, Courtney is one of my favorite clients like all time. So Courtney was on the list. There were a couple of other people. You all have memberships. You all have nicely designed websites. You all have podcasts. And you do like the one-to-one stuff too. I was like, this is nuts. I didn't even realize that everybody had a podcast or a membership. So I was like, this is working. This is my jam. These are my people. And the whole ecosystem, we get it to work together.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, and even just listening to you spout out those numbers, it's just, imagine if I didn't do that. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And going back for anybody's podcast, like, of whatever that you do for a living, is that someone does need your service
Yeah.
or someone needs to discover that to hear it, even if they don't opt in to get into a membership or get a one-on-one thing, but that they have the option to sit there and listen to that knowledge. And that is so valuable.
Yeah.
And even too, of going kind of back with the podcast compared to social media, I cannot with the long form content for me personally on social media anymore.
Yeah.
I just can't. And I get people in my DMs asking me to elaborate on stuff. And I was like, there is a podcast that you can listen to for free with 222 episodes. Do you know where it's just like, this is the long format and this is where I want more of my energy to go as the year goes on and whatever ends up happening. But yeah, so
Yeah.
you've helped a lot.
I mean, thanks. Like I said, going back to what I said earlier, like I'm really grateful that I have been able to help you because I know that me helping you is helping you help even more people who really need it.
Well, yeah, and even too on the intake with when Brittany was asking me about the podcast SEO, I said, we are going to F this podcast SEO up. Like that is my plan. And then look at what we've done so far in just a short couple months of just 20 episodes so far of that. So, and I have to go and say this too. When you start podcasting, you're not automatically great right off the bat. Like this is what I'm saying with everything, where you understand how it completely 1000% works. Because you might be putting in even to SEO. I'm not saying you in particular, but like a person listening, like you might do the show notes now and then a year from now, you might be like, go back and look at those show notes and be like, oh my God, what was I doing?
Right.
Because that's what I'm
Yeah.
learning as I've done the plug and play with my episodes with some of the earlier ones where I was like, oh, I did not really care what I wrote. I think one was like 2 sentences, you know what I mean? So it's like you are learning, but with SEO, it's a game changer for sure.
Yeah, it's a game changer. And like you make a good point. You can do it at any point.
Yeah.
Like so often we forget that the O of SEO is optimization, meaning you can go back and make things better.
Yes. And that is something too, when doing that, I was like, okay, I have because I think I was at like 200 maybe when we started, maybe like 210, something like that. And so I was like, oh God, are we going to have to go back and do all of these? And then I kind of thought to myself, like, is there a point of doing this? And I was like, well, no, because I spent, especially too, if you spent a good amount of time on something, you can go back and make little tweaks and make it better. Not saying that you need to take out the episode, but just fix of what we've been talking about.
Yeah. And like I said, I didn't even touch like show notes. It was the title and the tags are what I was really looking at. And then we've had some extra tweaks here and there just because my brain can't stop, won't stop. And Courtney's all about like, what else can I do? How about this other thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Any final thoughts about like, I don't know, just for the person who's like, okay, maybe it is time for me to look into SEO?
Yeah, hire you. Hire Brittany. I'm not even
I didn't pay her to say that.
No, she didn't. Hire you, work with you. You have great options too to work with you. What is the one that your SEO?
The program thingy?
Yes.
The SEO Foundations. Yeah, it's a 5-week mentorship.
Yeah, so like with that, it's just you can learn so much from Brittany, and if Brittany is not your cup of tea, then find somebody else who can do it, because that is what I have learned in being in business. I started on the online space in 2015. What I have learned as the years have gone on is if it is not in your wheelhouse, and you are sitting down and being like wanting to throw your laptop out the window because you're just like, what is happening here? Because nobody knows it all,
No.
And if it is just something where you're like, okay, I'm going to make this investment and this is going to save my time and sanity, do it. And for me, SEO and podcast editing is one of those 2 things. And Pinterest, like this is like what I have hired people to help me with, and website design, which Tara and my Pinterest and website design. But like, these are 3 things where I'm like, I don't even care to learn. I don't care. And if anybody asks me about it, I'm like, I have a person for podcast SEO and a website, right? Like, and then I have my sweet Chinny for podcasting. Like, so that's what I mean. Just for when it comes to that, save yourself the time and money. And if you are starting now and starting to build a website, we started podcast SEO in 2024. Do you know when I built that website?
When?
2019.
Yeah. No website SEO from 2019 to 2024.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't have a clue.
But I didn't either. My very first website back with the massage practice, I think I had that 2015 it was built. And I didn't plug in SEO until 2021.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like switching from massage to copywriting and then eventually to SEO.
Right. Why did you switch from copywriting to SEO? So you don't do copywriting at all anymore.
Well, like very selectively. And when I do it, it's website copywriting, blog copywriting, or case study copywriting. But it's very selectively. I just realized my reach could be so much bigger with SEO. And that it was also easier, frankly, to talk about one thing. Because for so long, I was like, massage, copywriting, SEO. And then I was like, I am walking this ridiculous tightrope situation and no one understands what I'm doing. So I really just had to pick one.
Right. No, I mean, I'm grateful that you did. I was just wondering, like, why you made that switch.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked because I don't think I talk about it enough.
But do you then have a lot of people then who just are like, yeah, I got you from Google?
It's growing because I was putting so much focus and effort on my clients' SEO and I wasn't really caring about my own. I plugged in like the main, SEO strategy like we did for your website, the SEO title and meta description and H1 headlines. And then I didn't really pay much attention to my blog. And then I wasn't really making the most out of, this is my second podcast. So I wasn't really making the most out of the first podcast by having blogs on my website. So in 24, really, that was when I was like, all right, we're getting serious. We're creating content, long form content on my own website, just what I tell other people to do. And that's when I've seen the traffic increase, the inquiries increase, my like street cred, like authority, what Google knows me for, what people know me for. Yeah. That's when that really took off.
So what was your first podcast?
It was a co-host situation.
Well, God bless you if you have a partner out there who is like very, very supportive.
Yeah, that's what I realized is that I had my own creative vision and I really wanted to bring it to life. And so I've got Leah helping me out and I sound good. My guests sound good. And even this year, I'm making changes where the focus of the podcast is changing and even how I do the episodes. So yes, I still have guest episodes, but I'm going to have more solos coming out too. Good. Because I realized like I want to talk to people and, share more of those things like you were saying earlier, just like even if it's a quick tip, like what's something that you can do?
Yeah. Well, and people will listen to that. I mean, I've had solo episodes where they're like in 10 minutes. Like it's just like it doesn't have to be 45 minutes, it just does not have to be that much because sometimes people just want quick tips and quick wins.
For sure. Yeah. Well, this has been really exciting. I'll keep everybody posted on like the wins that you're having because I'm constantly stalking your website and your podcast. Like, what's going on with Courtney this week? Tell us how people can get in your world, what you've got going on, because you've got a lot of cool stuff happening on your end of the internet.
When it comes to all those social medias that are out there now, I party the most on Instagram. So I am connected on Instagram at Sober Vibes. And then my podcast, Sober Vibes, you can find me. My website is CourtneyRecovered.com. And all of my information's on there. I do have a membership, a community, one-on-one coaching. I have a bunch of free resources as well. So that is how you can find me.
And your book.
Yes, my book. So it's called Sober Vibes, A Guide to Thriving in Your First 3 Months Without Alcohol. And that really just walks you through those first 3 months of quitting drinking alcohol. And there's journal prompts. And so it's a coach support book. And you can find that on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Again, you can find it on my website too.
All the things. Well, you're amazing. I adore you. I'm sure I'll see you in Voxer later. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me on the Basic B podcast because I love the title of your podcast. I do. I love it.
I love it. I mean, just like I love Sober Vibes. It's great.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for joining us and I will catch you next time. SEO is a lot like dating. Hear me out. You want to explore your options, narrow them down based on things you have in common or shared values or whatever. And then you want to connect with that person. You do not want every single available human on the planet to jump out in front of you while you're driving to the grocery store. You don't even know if you like the same music, let alone if this person has the same vision of a future that you do. It's dangerous and just annoying. Ew. SEO provides that good dating experience. It's not making you uncomfortable, chasing you down the street. SEO, when done correctly, makes it so people, products, places, or programs someone wants to find magically pop up when they run a search. SEO is like, hey, I'm available over here, which is how SEO gets more people flocking to your site, saying yes, and experiencing you. I'm revealing how all of this SEO stuff works inside SEO Foundations, my 5-week SEO mentorship experience for entrepreneurs who want to consistently bring in new leads without burning out on social media. Explore SEO Foundations at BrittanyHerzberg.com or by clicking the link below.